Good afternoon, everyone. This is a very unusual occasion in that it's our first opportunity to be online to ask questions with Dadi Janki. So thank you for sending all your questions by email, by Facebook, and whatever other methods that you have used. So it's a great opportunity to ask these questions to Dadi, and Dadi will attempt to answer these questions as easily and as briefly as possible. Thank you, Dadi, for being with us today. So, Dadi, the first question from Anu by email is that what is the simplest and easy way to get powers from God?
अच्छा क्वेश्चन अच्छा है.
It's a very good question.
भगवान से पावर कैसे लेवे तो पहले मैं कहती हूँ ओम शांति.
So before we learn how to take power from God, I would say let's greet each other with Om Shanti.
मेरी हमेशा भाई मैं पहले सबसे ओम शांति करती हूँ, 3 बारी ओम शांति करती हूँ. मैं कौन, मेरा कौन, इजी है.
I always say Om Shanti 3 times before I say anything, and so the first Om Shanti is to have the recognition of who I am, and the second Om Shanti is with the recognition of who I belong to.
सूक्ष्म मैं जब इंसान बोलता है ना अभिमान में बोलता है.
Usually when I use the notion of I, it's filled with ego.
जब मेरा बोलता है तो अटैचमेंट से बोलता है.
And then when we say mine, then we speak with the power of attachment.
मेरा देखेंगे ना, मैं अंदर आत्मा हूँ, मेरा परमात्मा है.
And when I say I, you will see that I see it with the awareness of I am a soul inside. And then when I use the term mine, it's God who is mine.
पहले आत्मा समझने से शांति आती है.
When I consider myself to be a soul, then I acquire peace.
मेरा समझने से परमात्मा को शक्ति आती है.
And when I consider God to be mine, then I'm able to draw power from God.
तो तीसरा है ओम शांति. सबको देखते, संसार में रहते, हर्षित है.
And the third Om Shanti is there to signify that I live in this world. When I look at others, I see others with the vision of that awareness of themselves as souls, and then everything is easy.
इसलिए मैं कहती हूँ बड़ा easy राजयोग है.
And that's why I say that this is easy Raj Yoga.
अधीनता से छूट जाते हैं, इंडिपेंडेंट हो जाते हैं.
We become free from dependency and we become independent.
नेक्स्ट क्या पूछती है?
That is the second question. Second question is from Minnie, and it came via Facebook. How can I deal with feelings of insecurity, helplessness, and fear of the unknown?
इनसिक्योरिटी क्यों है? परमात्मा का साथ नहीं है.
The reason why we have insecurity is because we don't experience the companionship of God.
मेरे को कभी ऐसे महसूस नहीं होता है.
I never feel insecure
क्योंकि उसका शक्तिवान सर्वशक्तिवान परमात्मा का साथ है.
because God is the Almighty Authority and I have His company.
सर क्या पूछा?
Helplessness.
हेल्पलेस तो क्या है? शक्ति नहीं है ना, तो नाव में दी होती है.
When there isn't power inside, then there is feeling of helplessness.
जी चाहता अच्छा काम करे,
Our heart's desire is to do something good.
परंतु कहता है
But then we say, but.
उसमें फिर मेरे को सारी लाइफ में हिम्मत बच्चे मत दे बाप है, बते बच्चे मत, इतना वंडरफुल, इतना कैसा भी कार्य होगा अपने लिए होगा या औरों के लिए होगा, हिम्मत बच्चे मदद बाप.
For me, very much that when I have courage, then I receive help from my Father, the Almighty. And this really is my experience. I have courage, God helps. No matter what task that I have to do, but when I have courage, I receive help from God. I have courage and I receive help.
ये सब शब्द नहीं है, हिम्मते बच्चे अनुभव है सारा लाइफ में.
This is not really a question of
हिम्मत
only
हमारी.
words for me, but this is
जैसे
my
बाप ने मेरी जिम्मेवारी उठाई है.
this is my experience throughout my whole life, and the feeling really is that my
Practically.
Father has taken over responsibility of me, and this is very practical.
अपने लिए जो सेवा के लिए.
And whether it's for the self or for serving others.
तीसरा क्या है इसका?
Fear of the unknown.
फियर, क्योंकि कुछ उम्मीद नहीं है ना, कुछ करता नहीं है ना, तो डर लगता है पता नहीं क्या होगा, पता नहीं क्या होगा, पर कुछ किया हुआ है ना तो बहुत है.
If there is helplessness, there is no power to do anything, and so then there is the worry, the fear of what's going to happen. But if I'm able to achieve something, do something about for myself, then there's no question of fear.
तो दूसरे शब्द में कहते हैं निर्भय निर्वैर. अगर मेरा किसके वैर नहीं है ना, तो इंसिक्योरिटी भी कहीं में.
In other words, we say that when we have no animosity, then we have no fear. And it really is that if I don't have any feelings of animosity towards anyone, then what is there to be afraid of?
फियर बहुत नुकसानकार है.
Fear is very, causes a lot of damage actually.
फियर होता है ना, वो टीयर्स बात.
Well, I'll tell you, if there's fear, then there are tears.
चीयरफुल रहना है ना.
But we have to be cheerful.
सब कुछ हो सकता है.
And everything is possible.
जब इंसान क्या से क्या दुनिया में कर लिया है.
Human beings have achieved so much in today's world.
ये सब क्यों कौन कर रहे हैं?
All of these things of the
मैं तो
internet
उनको
and
जानती नहीं इन बातों को.
technology. Who's doing all this?
परंतु
I don't know about this.
मैं जो अंदर से सूक्ष्म ईश्वर से शक्ति है ना, समझती हूँ भाग्यशाली हूँ.
But the subtle power that I feel I have from God, I consider myself to be very fortunate to have that.
बहन वो ये नहीं कर सकेंगे.
Well, see, I can do that, but this technology won't be able to do that. Now the next question is from Nancy by email. I know it is important to love others unconditionally, but despite giving this immense attention, I'm not able to do this. Is it really possible?
ये नैन्सी बुजुर्ग होगी कोई या जवान होंगे, मतलब बात का. पहले तो प्यार क्या चीज़ है.
Whichever age group one belongs to, one really first needs to understand what exactly is love.
एक है देह संबंध है, दुनिया से प्यार, वो तो धोखेबाज है.
One is this love that's a physical type of love, bodily love, whether it's with my body, my bodily relationships, or this physical world. But that is short-lived, perishable love.
जैसे मैं मतलब की साथी हूँ, या वो भी मेरे मतलब से काम लेते हैं.
And then really that kind of love is a conditional love, in that we have love with conditions attached to
तो
it.
मेरा ये हमेशा बहुत पुरानी है. पक्का जैसे मंत्र का हो, यंत्र का हो. मेरे को गुड विशेस रखना है. You're feeling good wishes.
For me, it's very clear that whether you call this a mantra or a weapon, that in order to have love for others, I have to have good wishes for everyone.
तो उसमें सबका सहज लगता है.
And it's with that all tasks become very easy.
कभी ये ख्याल कर नहीं आता है, हो सकेगा मेरे से.
I never have the thought, well, is it really possible for me to have love for someone or
ये
not?
रंग है.
If I think like this, then it becomes my mistake.
पर तो सब कुछ हो सकता, भगवान की दया से हो जाता.
But everything is possible. With God's grace, everything is possible. This is the consciousness to have.
विश्वास है.
To have faith and conviction.
होगा.
It will
हो
happen.
जाता है.
And it happens.
Okay.
Oscar from South America, Dadi. How can I know who I truly am?
अच्छा, अभी इन को शॉर्ट में जवाब दूँ समझ जाएंगे.
So, if I give answers in brief to these questions, I hope that everybody will understand.
मैंने देखा है ये जो ज्ञान परमात्मा से मिल रहा है ना, स्पष्ट भी बहुत बुद्धि में है, सार भी है.
This knowledge that I feel that I have acquired from God, it's very clear, but it's also very essential.
सार सुनते भी स्पष्ट हो जाता है.
And when we hear things in essence about these things, it becomes clear too.
पर डिटेल में सुनाएंगे ना, तो फिर हुआ मैं क्या समझ में नहीं आता है. समझ में नहीं आता है.
If I explain to you in detail, you won't understand who I am.
पर तो अंदर से हमारा अनुभव ये है. पहले शुरू में ही बाबा ने कहा था, सोचो बच्चा मैं कौन हूँ.
In fact, this is my experience, and from the beginning, Brahma Baba, the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, had always taught us to say to ourselves and to look at ourselves and say, look at yourself and ask, who am I?
Simple है बहुत.
It's very simple.
मैं कौन हूँ?
Who?
तो सत्यता.
Who am I?
निम्रता.
Then truth and
धीरता.
humility.
मधुरता का आवाज निकलता है.
Then there is a sound of patience and sweetness.
मैं को नहीं समझाया ना, तो आवाज कैसा होता है.
And when I haven't understand these qualities, then what is the sound of my voice like?
पहले सिर्फ आवाज से ही पता चलता है.
Actually, you can just tell from someone's tone of voice.
एक बहन इंग्लिश थी. पहले जब मैं लंदन में गई थी, तो जयंती बहन उसको कोर्स करा रही थी. मैंने कहा जयंती कैसे कर, तो कहा तो दादी इसको योग कराओ. पहला ही लेसन कर रही थी. वो है मैं कहा, तो मैंने कहा मैं इसको योग कैसे कराऊं, सिगरेट की बांस आती है इनसे. तो कहा मैं सिगरेट छोड़ देंगी, मैं समझ जाएंगी. मैंने कहा आदत है ना. नहीं.
It was when I first came to London, Sister Janki, one of the teachers here, was teaching meditation to someone, and it was in the first lesson. And the first lesson that we teach as part of the meditation is about the understanding of the self as a spiritual being. And so I was asked to show this person that was learning how to meditate with this awareness. But actually I could really smell the odor of cigarette smoke, and I felt kind of uncomfortable. And so I said, well, how can I do this? And so this person who was learning meditation, she said to me, well, does that mean to say that if I give up smoking, I will learn to understand myself? And I said to her, yes, I think you will.
तो मैंने कहा मेडिटेशन कराऊं, कहा मैं छोड़ देगी, मैं कहती अभी से नहीं पिएगी. तो समझो ना, आप समझ जाओ सिगरेट पीने वाले कैसी शक्ल होती है.
So she said to me, I will really, please show me how to meditate. Show me how to be have the awareness of myself as a soul. I will really give up smoking. I'm just subservient to my habit, but I really want to give it up.
तो योग कर मेडिटेशन कराया.
So then we had meditation.
मैं कौन,
who am I,
मेरा कौन है,
and who is mine.
तो एकदम उसमें चेंज आ गई.
And she was completely transformed.
मैंने कहा देख, सोल कॉन्शियस होने से मैं आत्मा हूँ, परमात्मा बच्चा हूँ. समझ रही हो? हाँ समझ रही हो.
So I said to her, look, to understand yourself means to understand soul consciousness and the awareness of yourself as a soul, and that you are the child of God. Are you able to understand this on the basis of experience? And she said, yes, I understand.
तो जी चाहता है जो कभी नहीं समझा था, ये समझना इंसान पे ज़रूरी है. कहती है मैंने कभी नहीं समझा था, अभी समझ में आता है। अच्छा, तो मैंने कहा कल तुम लिख करके दे ले आना, बॉडी कॉन्शियस क्या है, सोल कॉन्शियस क्या है, सोल कॉन्शियस रहने से विचार कैसे चलते हैं, बॉडी कॉन्शियस चलने के 40 विचार लिख करके दूसरे दिन आई।
So she said then that it's possible to experience yourself as a soul and be aware of yourself as a spiritual being. And so Dadi said yes. So she said, Dadi said, okay, then tomorrow when you come back having made a list of this contrast of the awareness of yourself as a soul and awareness of yourself as a body. And so we refer to this aspect as soul consciousness and body consciousness. So the next day she came with 40 points of what it means to be soul conscious and what it means to be body conscious.
तो कॉन्शियस जो है ना, मैं आत्मा का कैसा है।
So when I have the awareness of myself as a soul, as a spiritual being, what is the state of my consciousness?
तो अंदर होने के बुद्धि ऊपर चली जाती है।
Then when I go deep inside myself with this awareness, then actually my intellect becomes drawn up above.
बॉडी कॉन्शियस होने से बुद्धि इधर जाता है।
And when I become what we say body conscious, then my intellect becomes distracted here only within the physical plane.
समझने से, प्रैक्टिस करने से सहज लगता है।
When I understand and when I practice, it feels very easy.
क्या है, सहज बात है। बुढ़ा है चाहे जवान है, कोई भी है, बच्चा भी है, ये ऐसा समझे इंसान के लिए, ये हैवान को नहीं समझाएंगे तो एकदम बुद्धि का जैसे ताला खुल जाता है।
Actually, it's very easy to understand, and it's easy to understand for human beings. We're not going to expect this out of animals. And when we become aware of this, then it actually becomes very clear and easy.
वह वही हूँ, सोल कॉन्शियस ये ना, तो चमकने लगता है जैसे तीसरा नेत्र मिल गया।
And I am that same person as I was before, but with soul consciousness. I have the awareness that the soul resides here at the center of the forehead, and so it's as if the forehead begins to shine.
देखो कैसे देखें।
And this is how you would look with soul consciousness.
The soul consciousness की स्मृति में रूहानियत की स्नेह शक्ति क्या होता है, अनुभव होता है।
With the awareness of the soul, and that means soul consciousness, then you're able to understand the vision of spirituality and the experience of brotherhood.
बहुत अच्छा लगता है।
It's very, very beautiful.
ये अच्छा नहीं है, ये ऐसे नहीं कहेंगे, ये दृष्टिकोण बहुत अच्छा है।
We'll never look around and say this is not good, this is good, because our vision, our method of seeing itself changes.
सूक्ष्म अंदर चेंज आती है ऑटोमेटिक।
And actually, it's a very subtle change that takes place automatically.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Dadi, another question from Carmen on Facebook is, what is the service that is needed most by humanity today? What is the service that is needed most by humanity today? कौन सी सेवा की आजकल संसार में बहुत ज़रूरत है, मानवता को ज़रूरत है?
इसको सेवा नहीं कहेंगे, असलियत क्या है, रियलिटी क्या है।
Actually, we mustn't refer to a service, but seeing what is real, what is true that is required.
मैं साखियों को देखती हूँ, अभी एज मेरी 97 है, ब्रह्मा कुमारी बनने 77 हुआ है। मनुष्यों को देखती हूँ, अपन को देखती हूँ, पर आप जैसों को देखती हूँ, कैसे चेंज आई है.
My age is 97 and I've been with the Brahma Kumaris for 77 years now. I look at myself, I look at the people of the world, and I look at people around me, and I see how changes have happened.
सूक्ष्म मनोवृत्ति है, उसे दृष्टि पर असर होता है.
It's a very subtle thing. Whatever is the attitude of my mind, that attitude affects my mind, the quality of my mind.
फेस यही है सभी का.
It's the same face.
कोई भी है.
We have
हिंदुओं का, क्रिश्चियनों का, मुसलमानों का फेस तो मनुष्य का ऐसा ही है.
Human face is human face, whether someone is a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim.
आंखें, कान है, मुख.
We have eyes, we have ears, we have mouth.
अगर मैं नाराज हूँ कैसा होगा?
And then if I'm upset, what does my face look like?
मैं राजी खुश कैसा?
And when I'm happy and content, what does my face look like?
तो इसको गहराई में जाने से, अंडरस्टैंडिंग से अंदर परिवर्तन आता है.
When I go into the depth of this, then I'm able to experience inner transformation.
जैसे कोई भी कार्य होता है, समझो इसको ये शौक है ये सेवा करने का, तो छोड़ेगा नहीं पूरा जब तक उसमें अच्छी तरह से अनुभव नहीं करेगा, उसमें लोगों को फायदा होगा, मैं करूँगा, कंटिन्यू रखेगा. ये भी जो है ना, जिसको कहा जाता है निरंतर योगी, सहज योगी, राजयोगी.
Say for instance someone has an interest in doing something, then they will pursue that so that others can experience benefit, and that you can call it a form of service, and it becomes endless. And so this natural ability to be able to share is what we call yoga, easy yoga and natural yoga.
है संसार में निरंतर अटेंशन है.
We live in the world, but our attention is consistent.
सहज लगता है.
Then it becomes easy.
कभी ये कैसे होगा क्वेश्चन ही नहीं है.
Then there is no question, how will this happen?
इंसान के अंदर जो बात अच्छी लगती है ना, छोड़ता नहीं, पीछे करता है.
When someone likes something, enjoys doing something, they don't let it go.
परंतु मनुष्य को टाइम का कदर होवे.
But we as human beings should have value for time.
जब ये समझ में आता है ना, तो टाइम भले बाहर कार्य करता है, अंदर में इस नेचर में उसको फर्क पड़ता जाता है.
When I understand all this, then even though I may be engaged in activity, inside things begin to change.
उसमें भी सत्वगुणी नेचर हो.
And for that too, my nature should be a very pure and clean nature.
हर चीज को सत्वगुणी गुणग्राहक हो.
And pure and clean nature means that I see the goodness in everything.
बुरी को बुरी न देखे, सत्वगुणी.
Even if something is not good, then I don't see it with that vision, but I see it with a vision of positivity.
पहले पे जब मैं ज्ञान में आई ना, तो बाबा ने कहा बच्चे सत्तो रजो तमो, 3 शब्दों के अर्थ को समझो.
When I first started my spiritual journey, then Brahma Baba said actually, the child, you must understand the pure, completely pure level, then the next level down, which we might call Rajo, and then this even lower level than that is Tamo, and we must understand all these 3 different levels.
बुद्धि स्वच्छ और सत्यता को कैच करने में स्वच्छ बुद्धि है, सत्यता उस पर काम करती है.
When my intellect is clean, then I would catch that which is the truth, and also my intellect will use truth.
अच्छे क्वेश्चन है.
They're very good questions.
लोगों से पूछा है, भले जवाब देने में शॉर्ट में अच्छा है ना.
So it's good that I'm able to give these answers in short.
इसका इंटरेस्ट पैदा होगा सुनते हैं, हाँ हाँ हाँ, अच्छा मैं और अच्छी अच्छी बातें मर्ज हो जाएंगी.
So once there is the interest to do these things, then actually more good things emerge.
बंदा क्या था, शुरू में जब मुझे जो अनुभव होता था तो मेरा दिल कहता था औरों को भी अनुभव करा. बहुत कभी जब तक मेरे उनको क्या पता ये क्या सुनाएंगे, मैं दीवारों से बैठ के बात करती थी.
So what I used to do actually when I first started was that when I was interested in something and I took benefit from it, I wanted to share with other people, and there weren't always others to share with. So I'd sit in front of a wall and talk to the wall.
तो ये वो सीन बड़ी वंडर थी. मुझे जब लगता था इतनी अच्छी बात इनको वायुमंडल अच्छा फेथ बैठा पर मैं.
And so when these beautiful things were shared, then people began to have faith and conviction.
फिर किसको सुनाती थी, सुन बैठेंगे 10 मिनट 1 घंटा लग जाएगा, बड़े प्यार से सुनेंगे.
And then when I would speak with someone and share these ideas with people, then a whole hour would go by, and it would feel so easy and
जो
natural.
मैं गीता में पढ़ा था ना, अर्जुन कहता है भगवान को आपका ज्ञान गुह्य है, गोपनीय रहस्य युक्त है.
So
गुह्य मन डीप, गोपनीय मन बड़ा प्यार का अनुभव होता है, बड़ा रहस्य है.
I had read as a child in the Gita where Krishna says to Arjuna, or Arjuna says to Krishna rather, that your knowledge is very deep, very entertaining, and very slippery.
गुह्य बात हुई.
So one is deep,
ब्रह्मणिक भी है बहुत.
very entertaining,
बड़ा रहस्य समाया हुआ
and
है.
it also is filled with a deep secret.
तो फिर सारी लाइफ जब तक मैं किसको सुनाऊं नहीं ना, सुनाऊं तो ऐसा सुनाऊं जो भी बस.
I wanted to then be able to share this with others, and I want to share it in such a way that they never forget it again.
इसमें तो विशेष सेवा हुई है.
And it is actually this that has enabled world service to take place.
लोगों को सच्ची भावना से सुनाने वाला कोई चाहिए. सिर्फ पंडित बन के कथाएं करना, मैं लेक्चर करना नहीं जानते.
People don't want anymore people just speaking philosophical lectures or religious stories, but actually to speak with conviction and enable others to have experience. This is what people want.
ब्रह्मा कुमारी बनने के पहले मैं भगवान को कहती थी, कोई बड़े बड़े साधु महात्मा देखते थे तो मेरे बाप कहता था इनको गुरु बनाओ. मैं कहती मैं गुरु नहीं बना.
When I was young and I was very interested in these things, then with my father I used to meet different gurus or religious people, and my father would say to me that I could adopt them as my guru, and at that I wouldn't feel comfortable, didn't feel that I should adopt any one of them as a guru.
किसको गुरु बनाएंगे उनकी बातों मुझे फॉलो करना पड़ेगा.
If I make someone into my guru, then I have to follow what they tell me to follow.
मेरी भक्ति ऐसी थी, कहीं समझते ये गुरु बने मैं चेला बनूं, मुझे न गुरु बनाना है न गुरु बनना है.
So in life or religious life, it's usually the tendency is that one becomes a guru or for others, or one makes others into their followers. And I neither want to be a guru for anyone, nor do I want to make someone else into a guru for myself.
भगवान है कौन, कैसा है?
But ultimately, who is God? What is God? What is He like? This is what I really had a quest for.
ये पहचान मिली ना, शांति आ गई.
When I had this understanding, this recognition, then it was as if I acquired peace. Nechath, I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, from UAE. Kindly advise me, how do I accept rejection by others, or better still, how do I avoid rejection?
क्वेश्चन तो ऐसा है, दुनिया में ऐसा ही व्यवहार करते हैं.
Actually, it's a very good question, and unfortunately, these are the kinds of interactions people
घर
have these
वाले,
days.
बाहर वाले, काम वाले का ऐसा ही व्यवहार होता है.
Family members, work colleagues, they all interact with each other in this way with rejection.
किसको किसको सम्मान देने आता ही नहीं है.
People don't know how to give regard to others.
परंतु हमने सहन शक्ति के आधार से, सहन शक्ति सम्मानने की शक्ति, सामना नहीं करना है.
But with the power of tolerance, the power to accommodate, and the power to face, it's possible.
इजी है.
It becomes easy.
भले उसका दोष नहीं है.
Not to blame
पर
anyone,
मैं आत्मविश्वास से अपने आप को,
but with faith and conviction in myself as a spiritual being.
तो मेरे को एडजस्ट होने की, अपन को समझने की जो पावर ईश्वर से मिली है, वो पावर काम करती है.
I have to adjust so that the power that I've received from God is able to work for me.
Why, when, what, आवाज ही नहीं निकल.
No need to ask the questions why, what, when.
तो मैं करता है, ठीक है, उसका दोष नहीं है.
If somebody does reject me, okay, it's fine. They're not to be blamed.
दोष निकालने की तो दुख होगा.
If I blame them, then I will feel more unhappy.
तो और करेंगे,
And then they'll do it even more.
तो लाइफ ही नहीं है.
And then that's no life.
तो सहन शक्ति, सम्मानने की शक्ति,
Tolerance,
संभालिया.
tolerance, the ability to merge it inside yourself.
इसमें ये भगवान का जो परिचय न, ज्ञान का सागर है, प्रेम का सागर है, शांति का सागर है.
As an aspect of understanding about God, God is the ocean of love, the ocean of peace, the ocean of happiness.
इस सागर में जब बैठो, उसकी लहरों में,
When you sit in front of the ocean,
बड़ा वायुमंडल,
when there are the
में
waves of
शीतलता
the
अनुभव
ocean,
होती है.
what do you experience in the atmosphere? You experience coolness.
है तो और ही सागर है, और कुछ है नहीं, लहरें हैं पानी
It
की.
is the ocean, it is just the ocean, and it has the waves of coolness.
अगर मेरी फीलिंग बहुत ऊंची हाई क्लास है,
If my feelings are very elevated,
तो क्या है, और उनका भी जो अवगुण है ना, मिट जाता है.
then what happens is that other people's negative tendencies also get removed.
और ही उनको सहयोग देने की शक्ति आ जाती है.
In fact, we have even more power and the ability to give cooperation to others.
ओके, ठीक है ना. समझते हो लोगों के लिए सहज समझेंगे ना.
So, will it be easy for everybody to understand this? Dadi, we've had a number of questions from people in Europe, South America, USA, and Asia asking about how to deal with difficult situations with family members at home, and also how to deal with challenging situations at work. Does Dadi have anything she can say about how to achieve harmony at home and at work with those around us?
अभी ये तो मनुष्यों के दिल में और कुछ है नहीं. ये बात उसको वो सोचते तो बड़ा बना देते हैं.
People have nothing else in their minds actually, except this thing and that thing and the other thing, and they think and think and think and make small things big.
आपस में बात करेंगे ना, बातों को पहाड़ बना देंगे.
They talk about things amongst themselves, and those situations become big.
बातें छोटी होंगी, बड़ी बना करके सारा दिन देखेंगे. जहाँ जाओ, घर में आओ चाहे बाहर आओ.
small situations, they make big by just talking about them over and over again. And it's the same whether you're at home or whether you're at workplace.
कहानी सुनाऊं इसमें एक है, सुनाऊं कोई कहानी। हमारे लौकिक में बहन की बच्ची थी, माँ ने अच्छी पालना दी थी, बहुत अच्छी।
My sister had a daughter, and the mother had looked after the daughter very well.
यानी अच्छी, जैसे ऐसी पालना दी थी जो कभी भी वो भेदभाव वाली बातें, फलाना बातें माँ ने कभी जन्म से उसको नहीं सिखाई थी।
She had been nurtured well, and so she had never been exposed to discriminations and that sort of thing.
शादी किया,
She got married as she was older,
मैं बहुत समय के बाद मिली,
and I saw her after a long time.
मुझे देख खुश हुई,
She was very happy to see me,
बहुत खुश हुई,
very happy.
साथ रोया भी,
And she was also tearful.
कहा मैं बहुत दुखी हूँ,
She said, I'm very unhappy.
मेरी सास ऐसी है, बहुत
She said, my mother-in-law is very difficult.
अपने से आता है घर में तो पता नहीं कैसा मुझे गुस्सा ही करता है।
My husband also comes home, and all he does is gets angry with me.
मेरी लाइफ बहुत खराब है।
My life is so bad.
मैंने कहा अच्छा, सास क्या करती है?
And so I asked her, well, okay, what does your
पता नहीं
mother-in-law
मेरे
do?
हस्बैंड क्या सुनाता है उसको।
And she said, well, I don't know, but my husband must be telling her things.
मतलब वो 2, 3, 4 बात सुना दी।
So she told me these kinds of
मैं तो
2 or
सुन
3
ली।
things. I heard her out.
कुदरती मंदिर में भाषण था, उसकी सास भी आई, पति भी आया।
And so then afterwards, I was going to give a lecture in a temple, and her mother-in-law came and her husband also came.
तो मैंने करे उसमें बताया, फिर उसको महसूस भी हुआ, मेरी सास बताती होंगी, वहम की कोई बीमारी नहीं है।
And so she thought, when she thought about it, that she thought, well, my husband must be saying something to my mother-in-law. And so this tendency of imagination, and there's no illness for this kind of
तो उसको
imagination.
समझाया, तुमको वहम है, तो मेरे सास को मैंने कहा, तो तुमको कोई तकलीफ है इनसे? कहा नहीं, ये तो देवता है मेरे पास।
And so I said to her that, well, this must be your imagination. I asked the mother-in-law, do you have a problem with her? She said, no, she's like a goddess in my home. I don't have any problem with her.
जब माँ बच्ची का तो शांति थी, सास बहू का संबंध में उसको डर, अशांति।
So she was happy with her mother's relationship, but with the mother-in-law, she had fear.
फिर रात को भाई काम से आता है, अब काम से आवे तो वहाँ भी वो सिचुएशन ऐसी मिलती है, घर में आवे तुम भी मुंह ऐसा बनाओ, उसको बेचारे का क्या हाल होगा।
For the husband also, he'd be out at work all day, he comes home and then he sees your long face. What do you expect him to do?
तो क्यों नहीं समझते हो, काम से बेचारे को ये होता है, घर में आवे शांति हो।
Why don't you look at it like this? He's been out at work all day, he comes home, he wants to be able to share some
तो
peace.
सारी कहानी का मतलब तीनों का ही उद्धार हो गया। इतना खुश, इतना लाइफ में, जितना टाइम सास भी जिंदा थी, मेरे को दुआएं देती थी।
The point being that it all got resolved for all 3 of them, and they were all very happy with each other. The mother-in-law, while she was alive, she was very happy.
हस्बैंड में एक दूसरे से खुश।
And husband and wife were happy with each other.
वहम की बीमारी बड़ी खराब है।
This kind of assumptions, the illness of assumption is very bad.
अहम वहम।
So this consciousness of I, which is really the consciousness of ego, and then assumptions.
सच्चाई को गुम कर देता है।
And they finish all truth.
तो सारा दिन दृष्टिवृत्ति में सबको यानी वैर भाव हो जाता है।
And so in my attitude and vibration, everybody in attitude and vision, there's only discrimination.
तो कहीं भी जाएंगे ना, तो ये अंदर जो वैर भाव का संस्कार है वही काम करेगा।
And then wherever you go, the only tendencies within yourself that will work is these tendency of prejudices and discrimination.
समझने से He realized बड़ी change आई.
When there was this understanding and realization inside, there was a lot of change.
मनुष्य को कोई बात समझने का टाइम नहीं है.
People don't take time to understand things.
समझाएंगे ऐसे समझा, समझिए ऐसे समझाओ.
And they will explain to someone with kind of a force.
इसलिए मैं कि 3 गोली खा लो सुबह.
And that's why I always say, take 3 tablets first thing in the morning.
Patience, peace and love.
Don't need translation there.
अच्छा,
It's good.
no problem.
No problem.
सारा दिन से रात को चेक करो. अच्छा,
Check yourself throughout the day
कहेंगे भगवान शुक्रिया.
and you'll say, thank you, God.
ऐसों की अकेले होंगे या संगठन में होंगे. न्यूयॉर्क में गई थी. दिन के टाइम पे बड़े बड़े ऑफिसर लोग लंच टाइम में मिले थे. सुनते 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 उनको भूल ही गया कि हम यूएन के ऑफिस में बैठे हैं.
So, really, actually, the reality is that whoever they are, wherever people are, they're in need of these kinds of things. I was in New York once at the UN offices, and I was speaking to all these important people. And as we were sharing, it was about 30 years ago. And this is how our work at the UN began. And I was sharing, and time passed by, and they didn't even realize. It's a very subtle thing. But we need a very subtle intellect, not a gross intellect.
बकरी वाली बे नहीं हो. बकरी बे उसे दूध भी नहीं. ज्ञान को सुनना, गौ के मुख चबाना, इतना जो दूध दे करके सभी को.
Mustn't be like a goat, just powerless and weak, just raising questions only, but to be such that the knowledge that I receive, the understanding that I receive, I'm able to think about it and digest it like a cow that actually chews the grass and is able to produce power and strength within herself, so that we're then able to use this understanding. So thank you, Dadi, for answering all the questions, and thanks to all of you for sending the questions. And before we go, I think I'd like to just say to Dadi, maybe she can share a final blessing or a final word with all of you.
हम समझते हैं मंदा मनुष्य रूप में है. अगर मनुष्य अपने आप को जानता है, परमात्मा शक्ति लेता है, तो जीवन के वैल्यू का अनुभव होता है.
If as human beings we know ourselves, we are able to know God and take power from God, then we're able to understand the value of human life.
मनुष्य मैं देखती हूँ बैरिस्टर, इंजीनियर, डॉक्टर बनने के लिए कितनी मेहनत करते हैं.
I see how people make so much effort to become a barrister or an engineer or a doctor.
कितने साल पढ़ करके डिग्रियां पास करके फिर जब कमाने का टाइम आता है तो कोई तो लाखों रुपए कमाता है, कोई खाने के लिए भी नहीं मिलता है.
People study for years, pass degrees, and then when it comes for them, time for them to earn an income, some earn very well and some don't earn enough to feed themselves.
ये स्टडी ऐसी है. अभी तक मैं स्टूडेंट हूँ.
So this is also spiritual study, and I am still a student of it.
क्यों? पढ़ाई में जैसे कमाई है.
When we study, then through study we earn an income.
समय संकल्प सफल हो रहा है.
Our time and our thoughts are being used in a worthwhile way.
जो आज का आप निमित्त बने मेरे से एक वार्तालाप करने के लिए
Today,
शुक्रिया दे रही हूँ. मैं शुक्रिया दे रही हूँ.
I want to give you thanks because all of you became the instruments for this conversation to take place.
भाई मेरा ऐसा अगर सेवा होवे ना तो मैं सदा ही हाजिर हूँ.
So if there is such service, I'm always ready to serve.
पर एक मिनट शांत में रहो.
So let's have a moment of silence together.
फिर भी कहना ओम शांति.
Om Shanti.
हम भारत में से बाहर आती हूँ, विदेश में जाती हूँ, समझे नमस्ते करते हैं.
I go from India to any place in the world, they say namaste in this way.
सत्यता की निमित्त निशानी है.
The sign of truth and humility.
देखो आंखें कैसी हो जाती है.
See, when we say namaste, our eyes become like
फिर
this.
मेरे टर्न में है. ईस्ट वेस्ट बनेंगे बेस्ट.
East and West, when we come together, we become the best.
क्योंकि ये भी जो समय लेन देन का है ना, सफल होता है, खुशी बहुत होती है.
When we have this time of exchange and when this time is being used in a worthwhile way, then we're very happy.
ऐसा कार्य सदा करते रहो.
So continue to do such good work.